I've abandoned my child! I've abandoned my boy! Hi, my name's Micah. I'm a content creator based out of Austin, Texas, and I'm also a really big film nerd. And so I pretty much watch movies every night. I mean, except weekends. I'm an Orthodox Christian, so we have services Saturday night and Sunday morning, so I'll try to keep things focused. But throughout the week, I'm pretty much watching movies all the time, and so I thought it'd be a little bit more profitable if instead of just writing my letterbox reviews, which is what I already do, I could talk about the movies that I watch, especially because sometimes I don't have time to write a full-length, in-depth review on Letterboxd. I can just say my thoughts out loud, and then maybe we'll come up with a rating and a bit of a review afterwards. So, that being said, last night, in order to solidify my film bro card, which I don't know if I really properly have yet because I haven't seen The Godfather yet. It's kind of embarrassing, so don't destroy me in the comments for that. But in order to solidify my film bro card a little bit more, I watched There Will Be Blood, which I can say, before having really processed it, was phenomenal, was amazing. My third Paul Thomas Anderson movie that I've seen Phantom Thread and One Battle After Another, of course, which I enjoyed both of those immensely. So, yeah, no, I just thought it'd be cool if basically, I watch a movie, sleep on it, process it in front of the camera for you guys, and then by the end of the review, we come up with a consensus or a rating of what I thought of the film. So I'll give you my star rating at the end of the review. But yeah, so I got a 20-minute drive to the gym, so we got plenty of time to process this. Okay, well, I mean, I feel like there's the obvious things right off the bat, like Daniel Day-Lewis is an amazing actor, and that stuff, yeah, I feel like everyone can agree that he did a phenomenal job in that movie. I think, just on the topic of his acting, what stood out to me the most was just his portrayal of a descent into madness, which, here's the funny thing that, I've noticed more and more is, you're a good actor, you're considered a good actor if you can be crazy, you can act totally unhinged. Think, Leo, De Niro, Day-Lewis, literally what gives them their, title of being the best actors ever is just the fact that they're able to act totally unhinged. And I was thinking about that throughout this movie. I was like, nothing that Daniel Day-Lewis does in this movie is something a normal person would do, he has the weirdest moments, that one point when he's randomly to the guy, he's I will find you in your sleep and slit your throat. And it's just the weirdest stuff. And I mean, obviously the iconic, I'll drink your milkshake thing, those are just so not what you'd expect from a regular person. And there were moments there I was like, okay, this is just weird. Why is he saying these things? And then I realized, well, I mean, that's kind of what gives you the mark of being a good actor. The reason that's true is because, I feel like we underestimate performances from actors who are just showing us the regular human experience. And I think there's a beauty there, and there's some real talent in people who are able to do that. The people who just in the film are just showing you the emotions that we all can relate with. That's cool, but it takes another level of acting to be able to do things that nobody does, because actors that are super human and super real and super relatable, those are nice, but they're doing something that technically all of us have done before. You know what I mean? If you're doing something relatable, that means that your audience has also experienced that thing, right? So it's not as impressive. So it makes sense why we laud these actors who are able to do just crazy unhinged stuff, is because we can't imagine that, right? This is the first time we've seen a human being say such strange words or do such strange actions, right? It's not like we're just going around in our daily life and we have Daniel Plainview's, saying, I drink your milkshake in such a weird, psychic manner. So, anyway, or a psychotic manner. So yeah, I feel like that was kind of the takeaway I got from the acting, was obviously the more I watch of good actors, the more I'm just inspired and impressed by their ability to just do crazy stuff, and it's awesome. But this one particularly kind of made me realize that's why we like it so much. That's why we enjoy watching like psychotic breakdowns and watching people descend into madness is because that's just not something we see every day, and so it's giving us something new. And I found more and more, like in my journey with watching films, is that I love it when a movie gives me something new. Like, that's my mark of it being like, this was worth my time, right? Like, I got something new out of this movie. I learned something. Even if that's just me learning something about human emotion or about storytelling or just about, regular, technical filmmaking. If I learn something, then I'm like, yeah, that was a good movie. And There Will Be Blood had plenty of those moments, which was awesome. One of those being obviously the acting, which was kind of the thing that you expect the most, because of course I go into it having seen the clips of, a couple of those moments, like I abandoned my child and I drink your milkshake. But yeah, I don't know, it was really, really impressive, the skill that was displayed there, which was pretty cool. Now, the other aspect, talking about education and inspiration. Sorry, this whole thing, I feel like the more of these I do, they're going to be maybe a little bit cleaner, but it's literally just me dumping my thoughts. I just watched it last night, went to bed, and woke up this morning, and now we're talking about it. But yeah, talking about education and inspiration, though, the technical filmmaking, like, it was one of those movies where I'm like, okay, I really hope that this is like super well done and has like all these amazing shots, because that's what I've heard, right? Or I guess a better way to put it is like, I know Paul Thomas Anderson knows what he's doing. I've seen a couple of his movies, and when you're going into a movie made by like an auteur director who like everyone says is amazing, you kind of have this high standard of like, all right, like I hope that this has like, I hope this lives up to the hype, especially when it comes to the cinematography. I've realized more and more I'm a big like visual guy, like cinematography, framing, composition, lighting, that stuff is like, I love that stuff right now. Like, that's something that I'm like really considering studying and getting better and better at, because I just, there's something about like a really well composed, beautiful shot with like good, all the things, color theory and everything, that just, it just makes me so happy. And it was kind of like just shots from movies that got me into cinema in the first place. Like, it was like, okay, I can never figure out how to pronounce his name. Denis Villeneuve, something like that. The Dune director, Arrival, Prisoners, that guy. Like, it was actually the shots from his movies, from Dune and from Arrival, that I saw like in a Beauty of Cinematography compilation or something, that kind of like really got me interested in making my own stuff. Like we shot this whole short film last year that embarrassingly we still haven't finished editing because I do not know how to do VFX, but we shot this whole short film last year that like I literally based the whole story and everything just on like a shot that I'd seen from Arrival, and it was like, yeah, just cinematography is super inspiring to me. So anyway, went into There Will Be Blood being like, okay, like I wonder how this is going to be visually. And I mean, the movie's slow. Like it's a lot of that same kind of mundane atmosphere with the oil driller people. So there was like moments in there where I was like, I feel like this could be done better. But it wasn't really that. It was more just like maybe I was expecting something a little bit more flashy, especially coming like off of One Battle After Another, which has some like really crazy cinematography. Like I could do a whole thing just on the cinematography in that movie. Like just the way that the camera is used is so creative and so interesting. So anyway, so this wasn't quite there in terms of camera work, but that's on purpose because it's meant to be restrained. And I thought it was really cool how it like really immersed you in the year and the time period that this movie takes place in, like whatever, the 1890s. Like it's like, it feels like almost like the movie was made in that time, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't give you this like modern, like, oh, this is a period piece that was made about a time that we're not living in. No, it just kind of feels like these characters actually live in that world, which I mean, could be considered just be like basic storytelling. Yeah, sure. But I thought it was just particularly well done in that regard. But the camera work, even so, still had some moments of like, ooh, yeah, that was good. Like there were some really good shots, specifically the sequence when the oil derrick like blows up with the fire and everything. Like that was super well shot, and that final sequence in the bowling alley was just delicious. So yeah, no, I'm not trying to say that it didn't have good cinematography. The cinematography was fantastic, but it had this restrained feel to it. And I feel like the entire movie was a little restrained on purpose until the moments where it was absolutely unhinged. You know what I mean? It's like it keeps itself pretty calm until it's time to literally blow up. You know what I mean? And that, I think, is on that note, that's something that I think is a really cool like lesson about filmmaking in the first place, is that it's not really like, I feel like the best way to do intensity, to do scary stuff, to do like thriller-esque concepts is not to have the intensity cranked up the entire time, which I feel like this is probably obvious to any good storyteller, but it's just something that came to mind. It's like, yeah, you have to have your really calm, nothing's happening moments, because then the powerful moments will be that much greater. You know what I mean? It's kind of like my concept with using like strong language when I'm writing scripts, is I don't like to use a ton of expletives and a ton of curse words, because then it's like the moments that you actually have to have a character like yell an F-bomb, like those moments are going to lose their power. You know what I mean? Like not every movie is going to be Goodfellas where you get to use the F word like 300 times, right? Like you have to use it sparingly. And in the same way, you have to use intensity in general, and like big moments, you have to use those sparingly, because otherwise the movie's going to lose its power, because it's like, okay, we've been loud and crazy and wild this entire time, like we need something new, right? So that's what I thought this movie did super well, was like a lot of just like dialogue and moments that are just like soft and quiet, and you honestly are kind of confused. Like there's a lot of these conversations with Daniel and other people, you're just like, what is going on right now? Like, what is up with this guy? And it's not really till the very end that you realize like what's really going on with his character. Like his character is built throughout the movie, which is something that I think is a constant throughout Paul Thomas Anderson's filmography. At least that's what I've heard. And so far in the last few movies, yeah, like his ability to craft characters is wild. And in this movie, you know, like, yeah, these were characters that by the end you're like, whew, you could feel it. Like these are real characters. And the character of Daniel Plainview, and this goes back to like the good acting thing, is like he's so unapologetic in his insanity that it's like a marvel to watch, you know? Like it is so cool to see a character that is that wild and has all these different things going on inside, you know, just like any human being. He's got complexity, because human beings are complex, but he's particularly complex, you know, like because you get to see it manifold itself or manifest itself on screen, and all these little things that come together. It's just, whew, yeah, it is really cool. So that I noticed as well was particularly impressive, was Paul Thomas Anderson's handling of characters and his ability to craft a narrative around people. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of the movie doesn't have a ton of things happening. A lot of the movie is just talking and negotiating and figuring stuff out. But, you know, even in light of that, you get like a really complex and full narrative that I don't think you would have been able to get in any other way, right? Because since the movie focuses on characters, it's able to get the narrative that like PTA wanted out of it, which is not like, I just feel like it's not really quite what you'd expect. And I guess on that note, that kind of leads me to the music, because I've realized after my third Paul Thomas Anderson movie, that what makes me so interested in his work and what makes it feel so creative is the Johnny Greenwood scores. I didn't look it up, but I'm pretty sure There Will Be Blood is Johnny Greenwood as well. I mean, someone can let me know if I'm wrong. But oh my goodness, like the way that the music is used is just 9 times out of 10 not what you'd think would happen. It is not what you'd expect. And that's what I think gives all of his movies so far this weird, uncanny feeling of being like, this is just different. You know what I mean? Like, this is just different. Like, I came away, especially like from One Battle After Another, being like, this is a weird movie. This is just a weird film. And I mean that like in the most positive way possible. Like, it's just, his movies are just different. They're just super ultra creative and artistic and different. And I think I've come to realize the music, I think, is what gives that vibe the most. because he uses music at moments and in ways that you wouldn't expect, and it's just beautiful, man. Like, it is just amazing. Like, for instance, here's an example, so I'm not just rambling about some abstract concept. The beginning of the movie is just a shot of the hills, and it plays this like brass leitmotif, like this intense, like kind of thing when it shows the hills, and then it just cuts, and it shows, Daniel working underneath, in his little mine looking for silver or whatever, and then he's doing that for a little bit, and then it shows the hills again, and like it's like, oh, okay, like what's in these hills? Like, this is super. It's like there's some goblin king underneath. There's some, like, it gives you this like weird, like fanciful, scary vibe, and it's like that's not really explained. That's just how the hills were introduced, and we'll move on. And there might actually be some like depth to that I'm missing, but just the way that the music was used there is like I wouldn't have expected, like, okay, this static shot of the hills, and we're gonna get this blaring like, whoa, okay. It gets you interested right away, but just not in the way you'd expect, right? Like, contrast that to No Country for Old Men, pretty much the same opening shots, right? Just the hills of Texas, no music at all, right? I mean, the whole movie doesn't really have much music, but still, that's the way you'd expect some static landscape shots to be. Maybe some orchestral music that's light, probably no sound at all, but no, he just like does this with the music, and it's just unexpected, and it's wild, and it's creative, and it's awesome. And throughout the movie, I just see that more and more. It's like, man, like, these movies are not structured the way you'd expect, and I think that's why people like he's considered to be an auteur or a genius, or like, one of the big filmmakers of our century, which, I mean, I think so far from what I've seen, he kind of deserves that title, right? Like, it's just, he's wildly creative. He's doing things that are maybe new isn't the word, because like he's still using the same old techniques, and he's making movies he's not necessarily making movies in a new way, but he is making movies in a creative way, and he's making movies in an unexpected way, and I think that's worth something, right? And I mean, more than that, like, I think that's awesome. Like, I think that is good filmmaking. That is top tier, brilliant filmmaking. And I mean, you can't help but compare him to filmmakers like Scorsese. Like, I mean, because he does take a lot of inspiration from Scorsese in a lot of ways. But I think that he's carved out his own niche. Like, it's definitely his own thing. Because Martin Scorsese makes movies where the unexpected things in Scorsese movies are the edits. The edit is unexpected. Thelma Schoonmaker crafts images together in a way that you just wouldn't think of, and that's a beautiful, amazing thing. But when it comes to actual storytelling, I feel like Martin Scorsese is just like the top baller in terms of just standard storytelling. Not standard in a demeaning way, not meaning like, oh, these are basic, but he tells stories usually in a linear way. He's giving true stories, right? It's usually true, like from actual history. So it's like, yeah, it's standard, it's straightforward, but he just tells it in absolutely the most amazing and deep way, right? Scorsese is probably my favorite director just because of the depth he's able to pull out of these stories. But contrast that to someone like PTA, he's often telling stories that he wrote himself or that he got from books that are fictional. In like this, you get the sense that these are thoroughly fictional, right? In the same way that when you're watching a Wes Anderson movie, you get the sense that this is thoroughly fake. Like, this is absolutely not how real life is, and that's the point. In the same way with Paul Thomas Anderson lately, I've realized, like, you get this sense that, yeah, this isn't real. This is a story, and he's crafting a narrative. He's being manipulative, which is what you're supposed to do when you're making a movie. You're supposed to manipulate your audience's emotions in order to get something out of them, right? In order to get a reaction so that they can feel the same way you feel when you're making that movie, right? That's just kind of part of my philosophy of film anyway, is that like manipulation is key in that regard. But yeah, like with a Paul Thomas Anderson movie, you just get the sense that like, yeah, this isn't real, but that's how he wants it to be, okay? Like that's the way this movie's supposed to be, and that's what makes it so amazing, you know what I mean? That's what makes it that much better, is just the fact that he's leaning fully into the fact that this isn't maybe quite a fairy tale, but it ain't real, you know? So, yeah, that was just one of the other things about the movie. it's just, it reminded me like, oh yeah, this guy is just wildly creative. Darn it, I missed my exit. I guess I can talk a little bit about the story now. Man, I realize more and more, the more like really artistic movies I watch, the more I realize, okay, yeah, this is why these are Best Picture nominees, because it's like, oh, like this story is just crazy. Like there's so much to unpack. There's so much depth. That's what's like particularly inspiring to me about good filmmaking is like, yeah, you know, like these are people who really, really, really know how to tell a story. And There Will Be Blood is one hell of a story. Like, it grows on you, you know. At the beginning, like I've heard a lot of people say, this is kind of slow, you know. It's like even boring maybe, you know. But it's just cooking underneath, like this narrative. It's just boiling underneath the surface, and you don't quite see it at first, but it's there. I mean, it is there. I think that this story boils down to a descent into madness, and that is kind of obvious because, you know, Daniel Day-Lewis is acting. Obviously, you have this totally unhinged person, and a couple of totally unhinged people. We haven't even talked about Paul Dano yet, who just goes crazy in this movie, right? I mean, like, I realized Paul Dano, like, he's just always playing that freaky little guy in, like, every movie he's in. Which, I mean, hey, that's how he is, I guess. Maybe that's how he is in real life. I don't know. But yeah, he's just always the freaky little dude. And it's weird, man. And in this movie, just wild. But yeah, it's the story of those two men and their descent into total madness, right? And most importantly, it's Daniel Plainview because he's the one who really snaps by the end. It's just fascinating. It's a fascinating and tragic and wild story that it takes you by surprise, but you're also like, yeah. You kind of like by the end of the movie, you're like, oh, I kind of saw that coming. You know what I mean? Like you see the first signs of Daniel's envy and his anger and his pride and his arrogance from the start. And I think the moment that you really see it crystallized is when he's talking to his brother and he's like, I have this deep envy within me and I hate pretty much everyone I know. Like, that's the moment you're like, oh, yeah, no, he's not just like this. Like, he's the protagonist, so I feel like we're kind of rooting for him at the beginning. But that's the moment where you're like, oh, wait, no, this is like, he's kind of a psychopath. When you realize how deep his egotism and his self-centeredness and his arrogance and his envy goes, it's pretty chilling to realize. You're like, oh, wait a sec. This is not who we thought it was. And that's, I feel like, what makes for a really good story is subverting your expectations, which happens a lot throughout this movie. You have multiple characters who aren't who they seem. You have multiple things that do not go how they're supposed to, that do not go as planned. And those, like, frustrating elements and those aha moments and those, like, jaw on the floor, oh shit kind of moments, those are the moments that make this story, like, kind of elevated, you know what I mean? That really push it beyond, like, just a normal, linear, historical fable, right? Just Paul Thomas Anderson's ability to manipulate these scenes and to make things happen in a way that you just wouldn't expect. I feel like it's kind of the bottom line of most of his movies is the unexpected. You know, like every twist and turn, keeping you along for the ride, but also giving you this, like, character study that's quiet and profound and thoughtful and really, really deep. That's what this movie gave me anyway, was a character study that blew my mind and a story that kept me along for the ride. I feel like that's a pretty good summation of what I thought of the movie. So, that being said, now that I've talked about it, I'm going to give the movie a 4.5 out of 5. It's one of those films that just is incredibly interesting and deep. I generally try not to give a movie 5 stars right off the bat. Like, I try not to do that because I feel like you need to watch it twice to truly understand. This is definitely one of those movies. I could see it maybe being a 5-star at some point. I don't know. But it's definitely one of those ones I'm going to have to watch again before I can really understand it. So yeah, 4.5 out of 5. That's pretty damn near perfect. I don't know what that is on IMDb, but yeah. An awesome movie. Can't wait to watch more PTA. And honestly pretty excited to see this one again at some point. So that is it for now, and I will see you tomorrow. Ba-da-ba. I'm gonna watch this, and I'm gonna be like, I say way too much, and I say like way too much, and I'm gonna be ashamed because I work for a communications company and I should be good at speaking, but I'm not that good at speaking.